I'm present.
Thank you, host.
I guess I should say it again. I'm present.
Thank you. Commissioner Chapin,
Yep, I'm here, present.
Commissioner Morano,
Present.
and we have our recording secretary, Mr. Mello. I'm sorry, Dan, I see you there.
Present.
And I also see Marla Butts. All right, do an abbreviated introduction. We're conducting the meeting through Zoom, which is a hybrid, not even a hybrid, a online platform. We'll ask that when you speak that you turn on your mic and your camera if you have it, and address the commission. If you're representing applicants or others, please be sure to hold up documents if they're not previously submitted. I would ask that for citizens' comments that that they speak only or have those comments made during the citizens' comments section of the agenda, and that we maintain good order. If things get out of control, I'll ask that our moderator, who in this case appears to be Amy St. Ange, to take appropriate action to reduce that. So that being said, it's 7:01. It's Tuesday, April 12th, 2022, and this is the Town of Thompson and the Wetlands Commission. And we're calling the meeting to order. There are no alternates to appoint. I'm going to switch my desktop to the agenda so we can all follow along. The next agenda item would be item C, which is CA, which is action on minutes of previous regular meeting, minutes of March 8th, 2022. And let me just put this up. I'm going to share my screen, so I'm assuming I can have screen share. So give me a moment.
George, if I may interject,
Please.
the reason why the commission is going through re-looking at accepting the minutes from the March meeting and the special minutes from the site walk is because technically the Wetlands Commission did not have a quorum at the April meeting, and therefore these actions that were taken by motion need to be repeated at this meeting.
Thank you, Marla. Can you see the minutes?
And Mr. Chairman, if I may, this is
Mr.
Harry
Heller.
Heller.
Yes, Mr. Heller.
You indicated that this was the April 12th meeting.
Did I say that?
It's the May 10th meeting.
I try to keep track of these months these days. Okay, I'll have to restate that. A Scrivener's error, a vocal error. It's May 11th, May 10th. Why did I get to the 11th here? May 10th. How come I was reading? I must have been reading the wrong agenda item. Yeah, I guess I'm looking at the wrong agenda item.
You're looking at the wrong Zoom document.
I know. I'm gonna have to pull up the proper Zoom document. I can tell I pulled it from your agenda list. Ah, goodness. Let's try it again.
The top one. Next one up. You missed it, George.
I did. See, I'm not clicking too well tonight. All right.
That's it.
Okay. Thank you for keeping me on track here.
I had the same issue.
Well, maybe I'm past my expiration date. I have to move on, but I'll do the best I can.
That's not the Zoom document, though.
Oh,
That's the agenda.
That's just the agenda.
Where is our Zoom document?
It's there.
You had it,
Go back.
and it should be on the margin. It was on the left side of my screen a few moments
Zoom
ago.
documents.
He's right. That's the right
That one.
There we go. Okay.
Why does it say April?
I'm confused. Okay, so maybe
It
it's
shouldn't say April.
Okay, so I was reading what was correct. I thought I pulled up the right item, but there's a Scrivener's error in our agenda. So thank you, everyone. I think we all know it's May 10th. So let's move on, I think, right? Let's do that.
Yes.
Agenda item C. I think everyone can see that, I hope. It's action on minutes of previous regular meeting. So, as noted, there was a over a lapse, and we're going to incorporate the prior minutes of the meeting from March 8th. So what we have to do is we don't have to reread them. We just have to accept them.
That is correct, George.
Yeah. So this was called to order by Vice Chairman Charlie Obert. So what I would look to have is the commissioners to accept those minutes if there are any exceptions and move forward. I was not present, so I'm not in a position to do so. So do I have a motion to do so? To accept the March 8th minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion
I'll
made,
second.
made and seconded. Any objections? Okay, hearing no objections, the minutes of March 8th, 2022 are accepted. We have action on minutes of special meeting site walk, minutes of March 12th, 2022. Again, we have repeating this. Do I have a motion to accept the special meeting?
Make the motion, accept.
Motion made.
Second.
Okay, made and seconded. Commissioner Obert, second. Discussion? Hearing no discussion. The vote, accept.
Approve.
Okay. The meeting minutes are therefore accepted. Moving on to the next item, action on minutes of previous regular meeting, minutes of April 12th, 2022. I have a motion to,
Motion, accept.
okay, a motion to accept. Do I have a second? Commissioner Obert,
Yeah, I'll second that.
motion made and second. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, the meetings for the minutes Tuesday, April 12th, 2022 are accepted. All right. Citizens' comments.
Point of order, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Those are the minutes from the meeting where there was a questionable quorum because you and one other commissioner had to go do something with the Board of Selectmen. So if there's anything on this section that we voted on, if I understood Marla Butts correctly, we're going to have to go back and vote. Even though we approved it, we debated it all. I think for protocol, we have to go back and say, yeah, we will approve them again.
Well,
George, Marla Butt speaking.
yes.
It is contained within the agenda of this meeting. So all the items that were on the last, on the April meeting will be redone during the appropriate time in the agenda on this meeting. So you don't need to do them now. You'll get to them as they go on, and I'll let you know when you get to them.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for
Okay.
the clarification.
Okay.
All right. Let's move on to the next item here. I'm going to make it a little larger so we can follow on. Okay. Citizens' comments on agenda items for tonight's agenda. We have a fairly small number of citizens, so if you let us know if you'd like to speak. Don't forget to
I'm
unmute.
representing for the new road item. It's just
Would
the
you-
first time looking at it, so.
Mr. Copeland, if you could just identify your name, your name and your address, like for the
Yep.
record.
Sean Copeland, I'm here to answer any questions on the 119 New Road application, on extending my driveway to allow for emergency vehicle access.
You're in the town of Thompson, sir?
I am not. I'm the builder representing the owner.
Okay. So you're talking about a driveway extension on New Road,
Yes.
and what's your question or comment? I guess your comments. This isn't a Q&A, so we're here to hear your comments.
Excuse me,
Here to
George.
help.
Mr.
Well-
Copeland is here to represent his application,
Oh,
which is later on in the agenda.
okay. So you're here for a future. This is simply, Mr. Copeland, this is for any citizen that has a question about the agenda. So maybe you're a little premature, but we know you're there. All right.
Okay.
Good. Thank you. Last call. Okay. Thank you very much. We'll move on to the next item. Old applications. It would be IWA 22002, Strategic Commercial Realty LLC, 0 West Thompson Road, Assessors Map 65, Block 101, Lot 9. Earth moving associated with the mining 1 million cubic yards of earth materials, portions of which are in the 100-foot upland review area. Stamped received January 6, 2022, statutorily received 1/11/22. Applicant revised on 3/2/22 to include work in upland review area on 307 Reardon Road. Time extensions granted totaling 65 days to 5/16/22. So Marla, I know there's been a lot moving on in here. Could you bring us up to speed on the where this stands and what actions are needed for this meeting?
Okay, so the timelines will expire for the processing of this application on the 16th. So the commission needs to make a decision at this meeting. Now, yesterday, late in the day, I did receive 2 documents electronically, and I asked that I got them from Strategic Commercial Realty. David held the inspection form or inspection recommendation requirements, and then from Mr. Logan, a critical habitat report. They did send copies of those electronically to all the commission members, but unfortunately, they came in too late to be posted in the Zoom documents. So at this juncture, I think it would be best if Strategic Commercial Realty identifies what information in those documents that they want to highlight. And if they want, you could screen share those documents if there are questions about specific contents of those documents. And with that, I'll turn it to Attorney Heller.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. For the record, my name is Harry Heller. I'm an attorney with an office at 736 Route 32 in Uncasville, and I'm representing the applicant Strategic Commercial Realty, Inc. As the commission is aware, this matter has been on the agenda since the January 2022 meeting. The applicant is not proposing any activities in wetlands or watercourses in conjunction with this application, but we do have proposed upland review area activities. When the application was originally submitted, and through the administration of the application, it was brought to the applicant's attention that to the east of the project site is an area designated as a critical habitat area on the natural diversity database. After discussions with your wetlands agent, the applicant made a request to the natural diversity database for information on the critical habitat, which was never received. So in order to address potential issues with respect to that habitat, the applicant engaged the services of REMA Ecological Services LLC, an ecological consulting firm, in order to determine, 1, if the habitat was present, 2, where the habitat is, to evaluate the functions and values of the habitat if it exists, and to make a determination as to whether or not the proposed project will adversely impact that critical habitat area. Now, as you may recall, this is an application for earth product excavation, but it's primarily rock extraction. There is a shallow layer of overburden on this property overlying gneiss bedrock, which is a hard stone, which is a valuable product for virtually all commercial and industrial applications. We're proposing to extract the material from the site in 4 phases, with each phase being 4 acres or less, and the total extraction over the 4 phases being about 1 million cubic yards of material. We're dealing with 2 wetland systems in conjunction with this application, and they are interconnected systems. On the north side of the site, you have the side hill wooded wetland with breakout in several areas that we saw when we took the site walk in the rain in March. And the project site slopes generally from west to east towards the secondary channel of the French River. And the flow, when there is flow from the intermittent watercourse embedded in that wooded wetland on the north side of the property, flows through a culvert which was previously installed in a haul road, which leads northerly from the project site to adjacent property of Strategic Commercial Realty, where there is a comprehensive earth product excavation and processing operation, which is being conducted under valid permits. The wooded side hill wetland flows generally easterly, interconnecting with a more pervasive wetland system located to the east of the proposed extraction area, which is adjacent to, and probably based on the testimony that George Logan will give this evening, formerly a component of the critical habitat area. And the project vernacular incorporates a sophisticated method of erosion and sediment control in order to protect that habitat and wetland area to the east of the proposed project area. And that is the construction of a 10-foot vegetated berm that you have a cross-section detail on it on sheet 8 of the project plans. Under the 10-foot berm, and that's a vegetated berm that will remain in place for the duration of the proposed extraction operation. But the base layer of it is a free draining material, which is exposed on the westerly end, so that as water accumulates as a result of stormwater surface runoff during storm events within the active excavation area, it will be introduced to that free draining material, which is exposed at the westerly end. However, at the easterly end of the berm, that free draining layer is depressed, so it is not outletting with a surface outlet on the easterly side. And that design is critical based upon the investigation conducted by REMA. Now, with me this evening is both David Held, who is the project engineer on the project from Provost and Rivero, as well as George Logan, who is the author of the ecological investigation of the wetland system located on the easterly periphery of the project site, as well as the critical habitat area, which he has identified as being off-site. Before I turn the meeting over to George, the other thing I would like to point out is that this property has previously been before your Municipal Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Commission. On November 8, 2005, your commission granted inland wetland permit 05-09-03, which authorized excavation of surficial material in the same location as phases 1 and 3 of the proposed excavation and rock extraction, which is proposed in conjunction with this application. So at this point, I'd like to turn the meeting over to George Logan, who can go through his report, which we have entered into the record, as Marla indicated, to recite his findings with respect to the value of the wetland system on the easterly side of the project site, his identification of where the critical habitat area is, and his professional opinion as to impact or lack of impact to those resources.
Thank you, Attorney Heller. Mr. Logan, are you there? Are you
I'm
here?
here. Of course, I'm here.
Okay.
May I be able to share my screen?
Sure, let me just stop sharing mine and I'll do it. And just for the record, just give a full description of your,
Sure.
role and credentials. But let me just stop sharing this when you start talking. Is that, so try giving it a share and see what happens here. Should be able to start share. There should be a green button in the center, in the bottom. Yeah, it looks like you're doing it.
Yep. Okay, so my name is George Logan with REMA Ecological Services. Also with me today, who's the co-author of the report, is Sigrid Gadwa. She's, I think, on line 2, and I might refer to her for anything that I forget to talk about. Again, I'm Principal Environmental Scientist with REMA Ecological Services. As far as my credentials, I hold a master's degree in Natural Resources Science, concentration in Conservation Biology and Wetlands. I'm a certified soil scientist, wetland scientist, scenery ecologist, and wildlife biologist. I've been in consulting business since 1988. So you all recall that we were on the site back in March, and if you can see my little hand here, I think.
Yes, we can.
We ended somewhere in here and kind of looked across, and that's as far as we got. And so we didn't really. We took a look at this system and said, looks interesting. We know that the Connecticut DEP has mapped it as a critical habitat, 2 subtypes: forested floodplain and also the alluvial marsh. And so we needed to take a closer look. So on, I believe it was May 5th, which was the week before I had COVID. I'm recovering from COVID right now, which is one of the reasons the report didn't get to you at the end of the week, unfortunately. These things happen, I guess. So this is the study area. It's about 20 acres. It's predominantly offsite, mostly offsite. Maybe there's a little sliver here that touches the site. And I will show you sort of what we did. By the way, this is figure B in our report. Again, it points roughly to the study area, shows the 2 subtypes of floodplain critical habitat. The forested floodplain here in the alluvial marsh is this hatched area. And then the rest of it appears to be just open water, which we did verify. This little exercise here shows you what we did. The critical habitats are just above here and coming down into this area that we are talking about here. So this is our route that Ms. Godwin and myself took on May 2nd. So I'm corrected, May 2nd. I'll show you a couple of pictures, and maybe that would kind of introduce some of the things we looked at. Here's me staring up at some. So this is these silver maples are one of the characteristic, should we say, indicator species of a floodplain forest that's a critical habitat, and then we did find them in there, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. This is part of the alluvial marsh, the upper end here, the northernmost part. Also, that's mapped. Here's another view of one of the alluvial marshes. A lot of sphagnum moss. Actually, we found that in the alluvial marsh, we had 42 inches or more at times of organic materials. These are mucks, you would say, so they're majorly highly organic. They have a little bit of a mineral fraction too. We see these mats of this particular Sphagnum sclerosum, one of the typical sphagnum mosses that we have. And of course, we have the tussock sedge right here. And it almost in some senses, we found that at the edges of especially in the northern portion of the alluvial marsh, what has happened is that there are almost floating mats of sphagnum moss. It's starting to have a little bit of a bog sort of character to it, even though we wouldn't qualify it as a is a low nutrient bog at this point. Some other pictures of a lot of sedges. And by the way, I must note that we weren't there in the right time of the year to actually identify many of the sedges that will be more obvious to identify later on in the year. There might be some rare sedges out there. That's totally possible. Again, there's some shrub swamp components to the marsh along the edges. Here we have close to the one of the other alluvial forests that we, or so-called alluvial forest that I'll explain, that we were able to follow. Another view looking across to the actual site. So that's kind of close to where we were looking, if you recall, from the sidewalk, looking across the marsh. Now I'm looking across to that point. And then, of course, that's basically us returning via the tracks, which was very nice to use the tracks to get to where we needed to go. Now, one of the things that I need to note is this soil profile is pretty important. So typically, when you look at an alluvial forest and you have to determine whether or not it is truly an alluvial forest, you look at the soils. And I've looked at many soil profiles in alluvial forests along the Connecticut River, along the Farmington River, other large rivers. And what you usually see is evidence of active flooding. So in the bigger rivers, you have the spring freshet, which we're all familiar with. It happens depending on where it is, April, sometimes a little bit towards May, sometimes earlier, depending on when the snow melts up north. And all these areas are flooded, sometimes several feet in these forests, and all you see is the trunks and nothing else of the trees, even before there's a lot of leaf off. And if you look at the soils, what you see is evidence of alluvium. And alluvium is pretty clear to see. And also you see sort of irregular distribution of organic matter, depends on the actual flooding event. So it's kind of layered. So you might see a silt layer, then you might see an organic layer, then you might see a sand layer, depending on the event that happened. So when we looked at the forest component of the mapped critical habitat, we didn't find that. What we found was something interesting, and that is we found what we call an OIOA horizon. And this is about 4 inches or so, as you can see. And it's duff. It's partially decomposed leaf litter, pine leaders, and duff. You don't find that in active alluvial floodplains. That we never find that. And as you look down in the profile, you see a very small A horizon. Well, it tells you two things. One, that there has not been deposition of organic matter over it with flooding events, number two, and number two, that has never been plowed. And then as you look down, you obviously see that there's some modeling. So this is poorly to moderately well drained, and I would still qualify it as a wetland, obviously. But then what's interesting is that when you get down to the paramaterial, if you will, the sea horizons, what you see is that they're pretty bright. And I could show you a picture later on of what that looks like. Again, you don't find the irregular distribution of organic matter everywhere. There's a couple of spots we found it, but for the most part, I would say 90% plus, we did not find it. So what does that mean? It means that the forested component of the mapped critical habitat does not meet many of the characteristics that are required for it to be mapped as a standard. So it's more of a relic. And again, it does have the indicator species, which is the silver maple and other species, but it does not look like the kind of critical habitats that I've seen along the major rivers in Connecticut. So why is that? Well, the reason for that is, oops, sorry about this. I hope you don't get dizzy. Well, it's the fact that there's a dam. So back in the early 20th century, I think, there was a dam that was constructed further down. You don't see it here, which eventually became, it's the Acme Dam. It became, they included a hydroelectric component to it. Now, if you see the downriver portion of the dam, you see that it's approximately an elevation, I believe, 290. And if you look at the top of the dam, or where the water level is, it's at least about 15 feet or more above that. So what happened is that two things happened. One, this entire area didn't exactly look like this before the dam. And the water was raised. Now, I don't exactly know where there might have been some rapids or what the topography of the actual river channel was prior to the dam. We know that probably by the time we get up to this area, that you go up above it, you start seeing more of the natural meandering that happened post glaciation. But here, the other thing that's interesting is if you look at this channel as it comes around here, you can see it going this way and then coming around this way. So this is probably where the previous channel was. And this also looks like an old channel, and this looks like an old channel. So over the years, we're talking thousands of years post-glaciation, this area has changed. The other thing that we typically do not find is regularly in alluvial areas is this amount of organic disposition. So this could have been a meander or a cutoff of the channel thousands of years ago that then was able to accumulate a lot of organics. And then with the dam, it reconnected. So anyhow, long story short, the floodplain forest, and I don't know what's happening on the other side of the river, I can't tell you. But on this side, sorry, railroad tracks. On this side of the railroad tracks on the west, the floodplain forest that's been mapped as a critical habitat is not your typical critical habitat. So it's a relic. It doesn't, again, have the characteristics that you would, but the alluvial marsh does, because it is influenced by the river that goes up and down, not to any great extent. So good news, bad news. Yes, there's critical habitat, and some of it does not exactly qualify as critical habitat, but if you take it as a whole, it's a highly valuable habitat. It's has, I would say, even though it was not there in the right time of the year, I would say certainly it has high to outstanding wildlife potential. It might have rare species as far as vegetation is concerned. It might have other wildlife that are rare or uncommon. Very much could be the case. So it is valuable. And then the last thing that I would say, and then I'll ask Sigrun to comment, because she was the major author of the report, is, okay, so having said that, are we going to have any potential impacts, short-term or long-term, on this very valuable and highly functioning habitat? And the answer is no. One of the things we were worried about early on, and then we started looking at the plans and talking to Dave Held, is our fear is always, are we going to somehow dewater the edge of this habitat, especially the alluvial marsh? There is obviously a component of groundwater that flows in that direction. So not just the river hydrology that affects the alluvial marsh, it's also what's coming down from the west. And we note that the bottom of the proposed rock extraction will be above the level of this particular habitat, and also that there are some very good mitigative measures that have been put in. I'm not going to get into any great extent as to what they are, which will allow not only protection from erosion and sedimentation into said valuable habitat, but also with this particular berm that has a pervious core, will allow the water that infiltrates into the ground along that entire edge to be incorporated back over that 100 or so feet before it reaches the edge of the marsh. So I think the hydrology will be protected, especially along the edge. And we had potential questions about, fugitive dust from rock. Would that particularly have an effect? Obviously, this high component of phosphorus and that kind of potential fugitive dust. And looking at all the specifications and all the best management practice that have been put into the plan, we feel confident, of course, with the inclusion of the buffer, which will remain intact, that we will not have an issue with the fugitive dust. And the reason for that, one would say, well, George, the alluvial areas are usually a high nutrient area because of all the influx of sediment that comes down the river. Yes, but the northern portion, as you saw, has a pretty high component of sphagnum moss, which kind of tells you that it's a little towards the mesotrophic instead of more towards the mesoeutrophic spectrum. And so we had a little concern there, but again, in looking at whole, we do not have a concern anymore. So what I'd like to do is to ask Sigrun if there's something that she would like to comment on, and or to go to a particular. So I don't know if she's online
Yeah,
here.
I'm here.
Oh, good. Thanks. Go ahead.
Sure. So, well, just first of all, I've got very much the same credentials as George in terms of how long I've been working at this. And I've got my master's in ecology from UConn Stores. I'm also a registered soil scientist. I got a bachelor's from Brown, and maybe a little more towards the botany side. I'd like to say that the original dam that was built here for the Mechanicsville plant was in the mid 19th century. So it was updated and changed to be a power plant I think 1922. So it's actually since the mid 19th century that this has been impounded. The high functional assessment we gave was in large part due to the very good water quality in the French River compared to other rivers of this size. DEP fisheries data, DEP macroinvertebrate data, and there was the watershed, French River watershed study as well. So, and the good clean water in the French River goes in and out and into the wetland system. And the wetland system has a lot of hydrologic variation in it. It's got, very shallow areas, deeper areas, so that it probably is able to have both a good fish population and amphibians that are refuges in, partly isolated, protected areas, and the fact that there's still a lot of silver maples in the forest, and for some reason there are many insects in New England that feed on silver maple or are dependent on it, and it's also a preferred foraging tree for birds. So that's one of the reasons that this habitat is designated as a critical habitat, and it is still a silver maple forest. And the silver maples are growing very well because the water table is close to the surface. I think we were getting free water at 9 inches or 11 inches in this season. So it's a forested wetland. It has some red maples, but a lot more silver maples. I guess there's of course there's the big impoundment of the Quinnebog River over to the west, and there's quite a substantial, like 300-400 acres of forest remaining between the proposed quarry in this area and that river, so that there's a this isn't like a suburban river surrounded by suburbs and cities or whatever. There's still a pretty major chunk of woods for ecological integrity. And the context of a wetland system is always important in wetland assessment. So it met the grade in terms of ecological integrity, even though there's been a significant hydrologic alteration, for almost 200 years now. It's changed from what it was, but it's coming to an equilibrium in this mode.
Thank you, Sigrun. So at this point, I think that sort of summarizes what we've done. There's more information in the report, obviously. And we'll kick it back to the commission. Thank you.
Mr. Logan. And Mr. Heller, is there anyone else that you would like to have speak on behalf of the applicant?
Just a few more points. And again, I think we've gone over this in a couple of the previous meetings, but we've spanned such a period of time. I just want to take a couple of minutes to highlight it. We looked at whether or not we might have an impact on the side hill wetland, which is along the northerly periphery of the project site, which is your typical wooded side hill wetland. And David Held performed a watershed analysis to determine what amount of the contributing area would be lost as a result of the proposed rock extraction operation. And roughly 30% of the contributing area to that side hill wetland will be lost in the phase 1 and phase 3 areas. So about 70% of the contributing area, most of which is located off-site, either to the west or the north, will continue to provide hydrology to that wetland system. So we feel confident that there is adequate contributing area that system will maintain its hydrology. The second potential issue is when the extraction occurs along the northerly periphery of the phase 1 and phase 2 areas, whether or not that will expose veins in the rocks, which will dewater the wetland system. And as we discussed at the January meeting, we have a similar situation with respect to the permitted strategic quarrying operation on the property at 307 Reardon Road, which is the northerly portion of the application parcel. And the rock cut in that location has not resulted in any dewatering of that wetland system. So we believe that the rock characteristics through that section of both sites are similar. It's a very hard gneiss rock. We believe that the fracture structure will be similar and that we will not dewater that side hill wetland. But we can't be 100% sure of that. So we have proposed as part of the application submitted to the Thompson Wetlands Commission, a monitoring protocol that will require the applicant to monitor the hydrology in that system twice annually, starting at the time of commencement of the operation, so that we'll have baseline data, and then monitoring it through completion and after completion of the extraction in order to determine whether or not there have been any adverse impacts on that wetland system. And we've incorporated into the application a remediation plan so that if it is determined by a qualified wetland ecologist that the application has had an adverse impact on that system, we're committing to construct and bond for construction a 100% mitigation area, which would be a marsh area that would propose to create, again, under the auspices of a wetland ecologist in the southeasterly portion of the phase 3 area, where we would have the hydrology to support a viable created wetland system. And that would actually add a different suite, if it is necessary, of wetland to this area, which would diversify the wetland and which would attract a separate suite of both fauna and flora that would populate that area. So we believe that we've covered all of the bases with respect to the application. Again, we're proposing no direct impacts to wetlands or watercourses with respect to the application. A qualified ecologist has evaluated the habitat to the east and the methodology proposed for the extraction and the functioning of the perimeter berm with the pervious base layer, and determined that the extraction will not adversely impact the habitat area, which is far and away the more valuable habitat involved in this application, which lies between the extraction area and the easterly boundary of the property along the French River. And just from a permitting perspective, like to call a couple of provisions of your enabling legislation to the Commission's attention. Connecticut General Statutes 22A 41D provides that a municipal inland wetlands agency shall not deny or condition an application for a regulated activity in an area outside wetlands or watercourses on the basis of an impact or effect on aquatic plant or animal life, unless such activity will likely impact or affect the physical characteristics of the wetland or watercourse. And the Commission did not hold a public hearing on this application. So under 22A 42A subsection C, the Commission is required to hold a public hearing if they deem an activity to be a significant impact activity. So I think it's meaningful that there has been no, from a regulatory perspective, it's meaningful that there's been no public hearing held on this application. And we concur with the Commission's determination not to hold a public hearing because we believe that all of the substantial evidence introduced into the public hearing record evidences the fact that this plan for rock extraction is well thought out and designed by the engineer, and it's been designed in a manner to ensure that there are no adverse impacts to the valuable resources that have been identified by REMA located on the easterly portion of the property outside of the project area and in the critical habitat area, which is located off-site. And finally, 22A 42A subsection F provides if a municipal inland wetland agency regulates activities within areas around wetlands or watercourses, which you certainly do because you have upland review area regulations, such regulation shall apply only to those activities which are likely to impact or affect wetlands or watercourses. So we believe that the substantial evidence in the record of this proceeding evidences the fact that we will not adversely impact wetland areas or resources as a result of our upland review area activities, and urge the Commission to approve the permit application. If you have any questions, either of myself or of Dave or George or Sigrun will be glad to try to address them.
Thank you, Attorney Heller. Thank you for that comprehensive and concise, yet concise summary of the proceedings over the past few months, and certainly the detail of and comments of your advisors is certainly provide insight to the Commission. I'd ask that at this point then that Commissioners, do you have any questions for the assembled experts on this this application. Commissioner Obert, I see your hands raised.
Yes,
What would you like to say?
thank you. My concern, my question is relating to phase 2 area. And it just seems odd to me that that's such a almost a deliberate angle up into the wetlands. Instead of at that line where phase 1 and 2 come together, if that went straight across, you'd stay almost completely out of the questionable 100-foot review area. And Mr. Heller, I did hear you say, yes, you've got a plan in place in case it breaks. And you don't know whether or not it's gonna break, hasn't broken on the other side. But then on the other side of that whole wetland area, there's no work proposed to come in towards it from the north to that that little that area there. There's no work scheduled to come in from that place north. And so it seems like if we were to cut a straight line right about where George is showing, we can avoid the wetlands, the stream which feeds right into that critical habitat area. And I don't know, how many feet is that? It looks like 10 or 15 feet, maybe 20 feet. I don't know how much it would impact your whole project, but it does look like it would protect that stream. And based on everything else that's been reported, that's my only concern with the project. I don't see where we need to go into that 100-foot area that much.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Obert. Perhaps Mr. Heller's team could sort of give us insight on that question.
Yes, I'd ask David Held to address that, who's the project engineer.
Mr. Held, please identify yourself and comment.
We're sitting next to each other. I just need to mute myself.
Just one of you has to mute your mic, I think. One of you has to mute the mic. Now, Mr. Held, you have to unmute your mic, I think, and maybe Mr. Heller could mute his, and perhaps you could.
I'm trying to mute mine unsuccessfully.
I know it's technology. Well, we'll get there. Maybe put
God
a hand over it.
Space bar.
Space
I can
bar.
try and yell really loud. Are you able to hear me okay?
Yeah, we got you mostly. Go ahead, give it a shot. We're
Okay.
flexible.
Yeah, so as Attorney Heller mentioned, we did look at the surface watershed impacts to that side hill wetland area as a result of the excavation. And that was our primary concern, in addition to leaving somewhat of a buffer there. So pulling that back would not really offer any substantial benefit in terms of surface watershed area. And because of the nature of the excavation, there's very little potential for impact while the excavation is going on through erosion or sedimentation. You're cutting down, so all the work is going down into the existing hole, for lack of a better word. So the dewatering potential is the only real area of potential concern there. And whether you're 35 feet away from the wetland or you're 100 feet away from the wetland, if you have fractured rock, the concern still remains, even though we don't feel that it is a real potential. So I don't think there's a whole lot to be gained from pulling that back. And again, as stated numerous times, we don't feel that there is going to be any impact to that wetland. So that's obviously the reason why we chose to put the line where it is. We don't feel that we will have an impact.
May I make a comment also?
Go ahead, Mr. Logan.
Yes, thank you. When we were out there, I think what I noticed is that there's a significant amount of seepage that happens in this lobe that's up here. I think we looked at that. So what's contributing water is, whatever, and this is majorly protected. If you look at, usually in these kinds of topography, and, you have till and you have, shallow bedrock in some areas. So the topography is a good indicator of where the water is going, because it's the water that comes down, hits those sub layers, if you will, and then expresses itself within the wetland. So the critical part, as far as water is concerned, is this upper portion, which then contributes to the lower portion, which has, in my view, has a lot less obvious character that kind of shows, should we say, shallow groundwater seepage. I think the upper portion is much so. So I think Mr. Held is correct, especially the fact that, you know, you still have a significant portion of the watershed contributing to the entire wetland that's going to be left intact. So I think the assessment, even though I was not asked to look at this, but kind of looking at it from what we saw in the field and looking at the topography, I think that the chances of any significant dewatering of the system is very, very low.
Thank you, Mr. Logan, for that comment. Commissioners, Commissioner Obert, I hope that sort of addressed some of your concerns. I guess there's a risk with any activity that's engaged here. Would Commissioner Chapin or anyone else, have questions here on this matter? Diane?
George,
No.
this is Marla.
Yes, Marla.
I do have some comments on the proposed inspection protocols.
Yes, thank you.
If,
What do you have?
okay, so Provost Rivera provided a 3-page protocol for routine inspections and documentation and reporting. And as you know, the biggest potential impact from this project could be siltation leaving the site and entering into the critical habitat, which could have an effect upon the vegetation and the activities in that system that was critical habitat. I thought it was very well written, except there was a number of times when the words should was used rather than shall. And so I'll give you an example. Under inspection records, a written record of routine inspection should be maintained at the project site. And I would recommend that the should be changed to a shall. A written record of each routine inspection shall be maintained at the project site. And then information to be recorded in routine inspection records shall include the following, not should include the following. So that you would have a standardization that would be there. Everything else is fine until you get to the inspection records on the last page. And again, there were several places where it said should when I felt it should have said shall. For example, detailed inspection reports should include photographs documenting observed conditions. And I would suggest that it should read detailed inspection reports shall include any photographs documenting observed conditions. And then it goes on to say detailed inspection reports should be submitted to the project owner and the Thompson Wetlands agent. And I'm going to suggest that detailed inspection reports shall be made available upon request by town staff. And that detailed inspection reports not should, but shall include the following minimum information. And then it lists it. The only reason why I don't like the word should, because it's not a requirement. It's saying it's a good idea, but you don't have to do it. And I think for those things, since erosion, this berm is a new concept, and it's not one that I'm familiar with. And if it fails, or if you get the accumulation of water that flows out and creates a washout in an unexpected way, an unexpected location, you want to be able to address that right away. And the only way that you can really document and look back to see how long a problem's been occurring is looking at those records. But they don't have to come to the Wetlands Commission. They don't need to clog their files with it, but they should have them maintained on site and be available upon demand by the wetlands agent or the zoning enforcement officer. If it's going to have to get a zoning permit, a special zoning permit. So that if there was a problem that was observed, then the town staff could look back at those inspection records and see when it was first identified, what was done to try to handle it, so that you could figure out what needed to be done in the future. So that would be my only comment. And regarding the floodplain forest, one thing that was probably critical to this, many of the dams were built in the early mid 1800s, but then the flood of 1955 came, and North Grosvenor Pond Dam had a failure, Mechanicsville had a failure. And so there was a lot of probably movement of material at that time, water flows. And then subsequent to that, they developed flood control dams. There's 2 of them on the French River up in Massachusetts, which would have affected the flood heights. So there might have been a surge of sediments released in the flood of 55 and migrated down. I've seen other sites that were like this, but then subsequent to that, you don't see any flooding. That's why you might see that silver maple forest kind of like as a remnant, because now it's all being monitored and you're not seeing the flood flows like you see on the Connecticut River or the Farmington River, because they're all maintained in a much more controlled way because of the damage that was caused in the flood of 55. So that is, if the commission decides to grant a permit for this, I would suggest that it be conditioned on the requirement that the applicant submit a revised inspection protocol that caused the permanent recording and maintenance of inspection records for erosion and sediment control during the project's activities, during the life of the project.
Okay, thank you, Marla, for that insight. I certainly read over the same 3-page summary myself. I thought it was very thorough, and you caught the important element. I guess that's a question we could pose to Mr. Heller, if his client would consider, accepting that. I guess it's good to know now. Doesn't seem like an overwhelming or burden, however, and I guess wording such as, shall be made reasonably available, or available at reasonable request, or written request, or something, rather than being arbitrary, might be something equivalent to that. So,
If I
Commissioner,
may, Mr. Chairman,
yes, Mr. Heller.
it certainly wasn't our intent that these things be discretionary. So we certainly have no problem with any of Marla's recommendations.
Thank you. Yeah, I think sometimes we try to be overly, assist. We try to assist. We try to not use harsh words, and sometimes we sort of go in the wrong direction. But great. Okay, so
One last-
go ahead, Marla.
One last question. With respect to the narrative, which discusses the wetlands creation, Attorney Heller, are you referring to your revision dated March 21st, 22? Is that the one that you're using?
I believe there's an April 5th revision.
Okay. And that would have included the work on the driveway?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Okay, I just want to make sure so that I get the reference correct.
Yeah, it's the April 5th revision.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you for that clarification, Marla. Diane or Fran, do you have any questions? I know you've sort of haven't been saying anything, but just in case.
No questions here.
All right,
No, I don't either.
Yeah, okay. So I reviewed this, all these applications, the tubes with all the large summaries, and also the site walk, which we all participated on. And I think it's, a lot has been considered. This isn't just an arbitrary thing. It's been thoroughly vetted with subject matter experts, which I think are important. And I think the commission has asked those questions that are important, that to protect the wetlands, the inland wetlands and watercourses. The historical parts are interesting I think for everyone. And so I guess at this point it would be appropriate, unless there's other questions by the commissioners, that we consider, making the approval. I think that's where we are at this point. It's certainly been unfortunately delayed due to weather and other factors. And I want to comment that the applicant's been very patient with the commission in trying to work with all the constraints we've dealt with. So with that as a overview and summary, do I have a motion to approve this application?
George,
I see you
if
got
I
a
may have
question,
one
Marla.
last thing
Go ahead.
before a motion is made.
Yes.
If a motion is being made to approve, I would request that it be made on the condition that a revised inspection protocol be submitted within 30 days following any approval that the commission may grant.
Okay, so the, if approved, as it's submitted, however, with modification to modify the monitoring plan, right? And controls. And essentially, we're talking about should versus shall, and those elements which Attorney Heller, I think, in spirit, would agreed that would be fine. Okay, with that fairly broad comment, do we have a motion to approve? Commissioner Obert?
George, it's not, yeah, is he gonna go ahead? I was gonna say I'd approve it, but it's Commissioner Chapin, but I don't have I'm looking at your screen sharing and I don't have the agenda in front of me, so I don't know.
I'm sorry. Okay, so let's
That's all right.
find it. What do you see the map?
I do see the map.
All right, let me go up to the spec here so I get all the. Is that what you're looking for?
Yes. So Commissioner Chapin, I make a motion to approve IWA 22002 Strategic Commercial Realty LLC, or are they Inc.? Inc., I think. 0 West Thompson Road, Assessor's Map 65, Block 101, Lot 9. Earth moving associated with the mining 1 million cubic yards of earth materials, portions of which are in the 100-foot upland review area. Stamp received 1/6/22, statutorily received 1/12/22. Application revised 3/2/22 to include work in the upland review area on 307 Reardon Road, with the provisions that Marla stated about changing the should to the shall in the, I don't know what the term was for that.
Monitoring plan, I guess, or control.
Monitoring plan.
Right.
Within 30 days.
Within 30 days, the plan, revised plan.
Right.
Right. So we have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Commissioner Obert seconds the motion. Do we have discussion?
One point, when Marla read that, it just, I don't know how I missed it. That should and shall are very critical terms in regulations. I dealt with them for 30 years. There's no way that I should have looked over that, but I did. It is the difference between a suggestion and a requirement.
Okay. Well, thank you, Commissioner Obert, and certainly I'd add that, in the spirit of, being flexible and working with the commission, I want to thank the applicant for being, expressing the willingness to do so. And it seems like it's been a long process. So we have any other comments by any of the commissioners, Fran or Diane?
No, I'm good.
All right. All right. Hearing no further questions, let's move to a vote, and I'll just call for each commissioner to vote and give the reasons why. I'll start with Commissioner Morano.
Aye.
And your support, because?
You want to give a reason?
Yeah.
Well, it presented a comprehensive plan and with proper support and adherence to it, it should be okay.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Chapin?
I am basically, I'm not quite sure why we're giving a reason, but what Fran said. I feel like they provided sufficient information to us and been, alleviated every concerns with their work and their pledge to protect the wetlands.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Obert?
I'm going to abstain because I still don't feel real comfortable about the prospects of that stream. I heard everything else that was said, and I'm not voting against it, but I'm abstaining.
Okay, thank you. And I understand, we understand your concerns. So we've got two. I will, as chair, will vote yes, favor, and for the reasons given, I think it's been thoroughly evaluated. The considerations have been taken, and safeguards for the wetlands have been thoughtfully considered. And we have a applicant that has demonstrated track record for working with the town on these matters. So with that, it is it's 3 in favor and 1 abstention. So the application would be approved. Marla, do we have to add anything else, or does that cover it? With the, of course, as proposed
No,
and with the modifications.
I will follow up as soon as after the minutes are posted. I will draft the proper paperwork for your signature.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, on behalf of our team, I'd like to thank the commission and staff. We recognize that you're all volunteers and you've spent a lot of time on this. We appreciate the fact that you trudged through the site in the rain and gave this a very thorough review.
Okay, thank you, Attorney Heller, and your staff and team that have contributed to it. So, all right, that moves on to the next item.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. All right, moving on to the next item. Let me see if I can get to the right slide here. This is the
Page 27, 26.
26. I should have made an index here, but I didn't. Okay, 26. Let me get the scale up right. All right. No applications. WAA 22009, Thomas Dolan Jr., 0 New Road, Assessors Map 154, Block 5, Lot 10A, new single-family home, well and driveway in 100-foot upland review area. Stamped received 4/19/22, under review. NDDH approval pending and for septic system located outside of the upland review area. So Marla, what do we? You've looked at this closely. What do you have to
Okay,
comment on this?
if you could go to page 27, please.
Okay, I'm there. Excuse me, there.
And enlarge it so that you can see where the various properties are. Because there's a number of them that we're going to talk about tonight, and this map kind of gives a location for all the different properties. This comes from Map Geo. It's the 2016 aerial photograph, and it shows where the application is for the Dolan property. And the property lines on this map are not accurate because there were lot line adjustments. This is a property located just south of the David Held's application that was approved, wetlands agent approval, that's to the north of that, which is going to be subject to a transfer request that you'll be dealing with later. And then this property to the south, the Dolans, I have just recently spoken. If you scroll down to the next page down on 28, you will see the drawing for this application. And this application was drawn originally for a septic system by David Held originally, and it has been submitted by Thomas Dolan. I am dealing with one of his friends with this, and you see the upland review area goes right through the middle of the house. And so the majority of the house is in the upland review area, part of the turnaround for the driveway, but the septic system is not in the upland review area. However, if you go back up to the page 27, you will see the 5 Mile River runs behind this proposal. So consequently, the question of the natural diversity database, which Mr. Held had gotten for the site that's up for transfer tonight, they got a response back similar to the same response that was the mining operation that was going to go on last year that didn't go on. Most of it seems to be freshwater mussel, and I think there was 2 other species that were involved. Right now, we're just waiting for a response back for the natural diversity database. I'm expecting it to be the same as it was for the one that's subject to transfer tonight. However, one of the things, if you scroll back down to 28, What this drawing does not show you is it doesn't show you the extent of the land disturbance. It shows you proposed grades, but it doesn't tell you how far the grading activity was going to occur. And considering the sensitivity of the 5 Mile River located to the west, I have asked the applicant's representative, a woman by the name of Samantha, and I can't remember her last name right now. I will send her an email requesting that they identify on this plan what the limits of land disturbance would be to try to figure out if there's any additional erosion and sediment controls that should be required to protect the 5 Mile River located to the west. So this is a wetlands agent approval and it's only pending at this point in time. No decisions have been made on it yet, but I still have some work to do on it. Okay, that's what this one is.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just say something real quick. David Held with Provost and Rivero.
Yes,
Again.
Mr. Held.
And we actually had received a response back from NDDB. I forwarded it to Marla this afternoon, and the reason it kind of escaped my attention earlier is they mislabeled it as applying to the lot that I own to the north. They probably just copied and pasted the same NDDB report, but they sent it with regard to the request on this lot SC2, and that's reflected in the location map that they provided in the response. So as Marla indicated, it is actually the same exact response that the previous two applications generated.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Held. All right.
Thank you, David.
So we're set. So this is an application and it's in the process here.
Correct.
Okay, moving on to the next item. We have agenda item, new applications, IWA 22010, Mark Simon. Is this the same 0 Sandam Road, Assessors Map 133, Block 24, Lot 63. Fill wetlands for driveway, crossing, a new home, septic and well, mostly in 100-foot upland review area. Stamped received 5/3/22 to be statutorily received on 5/10/22, which is today, which I'm embracing finally. Thank you. So this is another new application, Marla. What do you have on this?
Yes, so this is actually an individual permit application because there's actual work in wetlands and watercourses. This property is located not far from the Candidas property. You recall Candidas's property came off of, I think it was called Sunnyview. This is across the street on Sandam Road at the corner of Sandam and Babula Road. And Daniel Blanchette is here on screen to talk about this application. It's going to be statutorily received. You can't take an action on it for 30 days. And if you decide you want to go visit the site or visit any other site tonight, you can set that up for a site walk for next month.
Great, thank you, Marla. And Mr. Blanchette, if you would address, introduce yourself for the record, and if you have comments about this application, it'd be appreciated.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Daniel Blanchette, and I'm a licensed civil engineer with J&D Civil Engineers out of Thompson. I'm here tonight to represent the applicant, Mark Simon. Now, Mark Simon lives up in Massachusetts. He's been looking to purchase land in this area for many years, and this property recently came on the market. And so Mr. Simon is very anxious to build a new dream home for himself, really, on this property. If you wouldn't mind scrolling down a couple pages, Mr. Chairman, I have
37.
Okay,
Thank
37.
Page
All right,
37.
I'll get there.
One more, that
37.
one.
There you go. Let me just make it bigger.
That'll be illustrative. So the site is located at the intersection of Babula Road and Sandam Road. It's about 18 acres in size. Roughly half the site is considered wetlands. Now, this is a very sensitive location, so we want to try and be very environmentally friendly with this project. If you don't, you can see the proposed house location is located at the middle of the site in a little island of upland, with really surrounded by wetlands on all sides. If you wouldn't mind scrolling down one more page, please. And then you can see the field in the middle of the site is accessed by an existing wetland crossing. These fields have been in use as agriculture for many years. It's my understanding that currently Fort Hill Farms is responsible for for mowing, for fertilizing, for maintaining the fields. But so again, it's an existing developed site. It's an agricultural site with an existing wetland crossing. We could
Thank you.
scroll down one more page, please. So now you can see this is an image from the town's wetland inventory. You can see the black arrow pointing to the site, the little island where we'd like to build, and you can see the red hatches are considered significant wetlands. The town of Thompson has 10 significant wetlands. If you look down and right, you'll see Sunnyside Drive where the Candidas application was a few months back. And so again, so this is a very sensitive area. And so we want to try and be cognizant of that. If you could scroll down one more, please. We have some photographs of the wetlands crossing. This is a picture from the road looking north into the field. There is an intermittent stream that needs to be crossed. It doesn't have a lot of water. This picture was taken a few weeks ago during the wet season. There's maybe 2-3 inches of water there. You could drive over it now with a car. The crossing itself is pretty sandy. It appears that at some point gravel and sand had been brought in to kind of stabilize that, but it is also eroding actively. You can see there's no formal drainage structures. It's just a little embankment of gravel that the water spills over. If we scroll down one more page, we'll see another picture looking in the other direction. So here's a picture, I think it's a little bit clearer to see with the shadows from the center of the site looking back towards the road. And so you can see again, water is coming in from the left-hand side, which is the east, and then it's flowing to the right-hand side, which is the west. This picture is kind of upside down. Yes, sir. And now if we could scroll back up to the site plan, I'll touch briefly on a couple features there.
Oh, I think I went past it. Was that, do we have a slide
Yeah.
number, Marla? Right there?
Try
Maybe that's it.
page 32.
Perfect.
Okay,
Let's
yeah.
zoom out a little bit. And so
We
here you can see this, there are 3 sheets to this site plan. This is kind of the overall sheet that shows Sand Dam Road to the south. Sand Dam Road to the right-hand side, the east, Babula Road to the south. You can see the driveway coming off of Babula Road, and then it crosses the intermittent stream. My client's hoping to build a detached garage on the left and then his primary house towards the center of the field. And then again with the septic system even more north. I'll also point out we have submitted an NDDB notification for this form. The western portion of the site is considered critical habitat according to the NDDB program. And so that line is shown on my site plan. It's that big bold dashed line that kind of cuts diagonally across the left-hand side. And again, you can see there's no construction of any kind, thank you, proposed within that limit. Portions of the driveway, the wetland crossing are obviously in the upland review area. About half the septic system is in the upland review area, but really no trees, no construction of any kind is proposed in the critical habitat. And there are also wetlands on the left-hand side of the house to the west that are not being shown. Yeah, there are more wetlands there, but they're far enough away from the site. We're not going to have them delineated, and their buffer really doesn't have any effect, so we're not showing it. We'd scroll down one more sheet. Here's the septic system plan. Now this plan is a little bit incomplete. We don't have test pit data back yet. And so the actual elevations of the D box of the leach field have yet to be determined. But I took an educated guess. I'm showing some proposed grading, and I'm confident that once we have that soil data, there won't be any substantial changes to this sheet. Again, we'll add the cross section, we'll add elevations, but it will be substantially similar. And if we could go down to the last sheet, the final sheet, this kind of shows, I think, the most interesting or potentially contentious one, the wetland crossing. And so here you can maybe zoom in a little bit. We have had wetlands here delineated by Margaret Washburn. We're going to have Margaret come back and do some more of the site. Unfortunately, actually, Margaret Washburn just came down with COVID. She was supposed to get it done, and she's been pretty ill at the moment, so I'm wishing her a speedy recovery. But we will have her back out here to continue her delineation before the next meeting. But in the area of the wetlands crossing, she did delineate wetlands on both sides. We're showing wetland flags. And then now for the existing crossing, we're proposing two 18-inch pipes. The water that enters this site flows under Babula Road. Babula Road has one 18-inch culvert to transfer this flow. And then the flow under the driveway is basically has the same drainage area. It's a very small increase in drainage area between what goes under Babula Road and what will go under the driveway. And so what we're proposing is to double the capacity. There is one 18-inch pipe about 300 feet upstream. We're proposing two 18-inch pipes. That's, again, it's double the capacity. There should be plenty of conservatism, plenty of margin for any kind of flooding situations. And so we feel confident that hydraulically that's going to perform pretty well. We also looked at using, we did a bunch of ways to try and minimize our wetlands impact. This wetland crossing is going to require about 2,500 square feet of wetlands to be impacted. About half that is just within the existing crossing. You know, the existing wetland crossing is roughly 75, 80 feet long, 10 feet wide. And so there's a pretty substantial amount just involved in even doing any kind of maintenance to the existing crossing. But we did look at a number of alternatives to try and minimize our impact. First of all, we used two 18-inch pipes instead of one larger pipe. This allows everything to be a little bit lower. And then so when we taper that driveway down to the ground, we don't have to go out as far. So by keeping the roadway lower, we get to shrink it in narrower as well and really minimize the amount that we intrude into the wetlands. We're also trying to make the driveway pretty much as narrow as possible. My client was hoping to make it a little bit wider, and I strongly suggested that we make it as narrow as the regulations will allow. And so we're proposing a 12-foot wide driveway with a 1-foot shoulder on either side. From the driveway in the wetland area, there'll be a 2-to-1 grass slope that will blend back in with the existing tree line. Right at the pipes at the intermittent stream, the slopes will be lined with modified riprap to prevent any kind of scour or erosion. There's really only 2 or 3 small trees that need to be cut for this wetland crossing because there's such a nice existing crossing there. I shouldn't say nice, but existing. We really don't have to cut many trees. And again, you can refer to the pictures that I took. There's maybe 1 or 2 trees on either side, 4-inch trees that would need to be cut to allow this construction. There's no really large specimen trees that would be required for this. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can see. I think maybe the last picture might be the most clear with the shadows. You can see, I think I see really, 1 on the left-hand side and maybe 2 on the right-hand side near the channel that would have to come out. And then for the house, the septic construction, no trees will need to be cut. Again, we're using the existing agricultural field for the site of most of the construction.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Blanchett. Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Blanchett or the applicant?
I have a question for Mr. Blanchett.
Yes, sir.
The driveway is expected to be paved or earth?
Yes, we're hoping to pave it. My client is hoping to pave it. And my client, Mark Simon, I believe is on the meeting with us.
We do have him here. Or I see someone enabled Mr. Simon. Mr. Simon, is that you?
Yes.
Do you have a comment or?
No, in terms of the driveway paving, yeah, we would like to have it paved. If that's not going to create any issues.
Okay.
I'd like to put this on the schedule for a site walk in the first Saturday of next month.
Okay, good. Okay, Marla, we'll put it on.
I can do that.
Of coordinate with
set it
Mr.
up.
Blanchett and Mr. Simon to take a look at it. Seems like you've got a little island of green in a otherwise busy wetland.
It's
So-
an unusual property. Yeah, it's so pretty once you're out there. It's just a beautiful hay field with mature forest all around and some really nice wetlands. Yeah.
So you get a taste of it from the look view here, of course, with the so like it's over here somewhere in the center, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah. You
Yeah.
can just barely see the field straight ahead.
Yeah, it's over here. Okay.
Yep.
Great. Any other questions? All right then. Thank you very much. If there's no other points or observations, I think we can move on to the next applicant, and you'll coordinate a site visit.
Just
Yes.
one
One other
quick
point.
question.
Yes, Marla.
Mr. Simon, have you acquired the property or do you have a purchase agreement for this?
Yeah, good question, Marla. We're under contract. It's contingent upon getting a wetlands permit.
Okay, so the property owner would have no objection to the Saturday site walk. We usually have it the Saturday before the next wetlands meeting, which is the second Tuesday of the month.
Yeah, I'll confirm with them, but I don't see that as an issue. They've been working very closely with me, so I'll let them know. And do you need written permission or?
It should have been in the application. Let's see who signed as owner of the property. Hold on, I'm gonna go up to the
I think they
application.
appointed-
Oh, I didn't have the whole application.
Yes,
And-
I believe
I didn't file.
Sorry. Yes, the legal owner
Go
of the
ahead, Dan.
property did sign the application electronically.
Okay, so
Do we-
then the commission does have permission to enter onto the property.
Okay.
For the site walk. All right, thank you.
Great. Great. We'll move on to the next matter.
Thank
There's
you,
no other
everyone.
questions? You're welcome. Thank you, Mr. Blanchett and Mr. Simon. Moving on to new applications. IWA 22011 DH Copeland Builder Inc., 119 Road, New Road, Assessors Map 154, Block 3, Lot 21. 10-foot extension of 15-foot culvert under existing driveway to widen driveway by 6 feet, electronically received on 5/5/22. To be statutorily received on 5/10/22. Note, driveway was initially authorized by WAA 21016. So Marla, what are we dealing with here?
Okay, so on page 27 of the Zoom documents, I had give you a little map of all the different issues, but I don't want you to go there yet. I'd like you to go to page 47. Sorry.
No worries, we can do that. That's what computers are for. Here
All right,
we are
well-
at 47. It's a busy diagram.
Okay. Okay. So what was approved under the wetlands agent approval was the
Oh, you want
original
to- Mr. Blanchett,
driveway
you want to get dressed there.
backlash.
Go ahead.
The,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The driveway was approved last year as a wetlands agent approval. At that time, I had no evidence that there was a water there, that there was a intermittent or otherwise. And so the approval went through, and then subsequent this year, I started getting some inquiries about water flowing down along the neighboring property and going through here. And about at the same time, Sean Copeland approached me regarding widening the driveway. And the desire was to make it safer for emergency vehicles, because this may be one that you want to also do a site walk on, because you really need to see it in order to understand what's going on here. And this is real close to those other applications that are on the other side of New Road that we just discussed earlier tonight. And so if you go to page 49 of the Zoom documents, you'll get a detail of the proposal to extend the culvert under the driveway. And it's basically extending what is already there. And that existing culvert empties into basically like a stone hole in the ground, which then goes underneath New Road It's a 15-inch plastic pipe that goes under and heads towards the Gray property, which got a wetlands agent approval a couple of months ago. That's under construction now. So when I started looking at this property, I noticed that there was water flowing, and the water flowing was pretty substantial. And so I went out with Charlie Aubert. This would have been, I have it in my wetlands agent report. It was back last month, the end of last month, and determined that there was a water course there now, and it was flowing out of the hill near the old Star Road property. So now if you go to page 27, and I can explain, this is very complicated because when the subdivision went through for the Star Road mining operation back years ago, there was no water course here. So on page 27, if you see, now you see where I have listed application WAA 220 up on the hill, right on the right-hand side of the diagram. Approval WAA 2200, and it should be a 3. That's the one where they were going to, Connecticut Superior Stone was going to remove the stone walls, and they were going to get access through the lot that it connects to, which is not lot 117 New Road, but the next one over, the undeveloped lot. Mr. Copeland's property that he's got the application is 119 New Road. So water flows down through, it originates in lot 117 New Road, flows into what is now the Gray property. The Grays who bought the land that has the big pond on it to the north. And they bought the 2 lots that were owned, remaining lots of River Junction Estates, and had got an approval to have the stones removed. And now they have water going through their lot and down their driveway, that long narrow driveway that's just to the north of 119 New Road, and then comes into 119 and goes into that cross culvert, and then crosses under New Road there where you see the little red flag just below the 119. It says application IWA 22011 Copeland. That's
Marla, it's
where the
actually
water
shown.
flows.
It's actually shown on the site plan I submitted. If they pull up that, you can
Okay.
see the drainage swale.
Yeah, I just
on that site plan.
I just wanted them to see where the water was originating from, because it's very confusing, because it was not shown on any other plans, but it's been created subsequent to the commission issuing a permit for mining operation on this property years ago. So now if we can go, now that you get an idea of what's going on here, normally I would have just granted, suggested they come in with a wetlands agent approval, but when I did the site walk with Charlie Aubert, we actually saw originating at 117 New Road, water flowing. It hadn't been raining for a couple of days, and there was green filamentous algae growing in the channel that the water was flowing towards New Road. And that continued flowing. It didn't disappear into the ground, and it ended up going in through this driveway culvert that Mr. Copeland wants to extend. So this is an application for an individual permit, not for a wetlands agent approval, because I have identified that it meets the qualifications as an intermittent water course under the definition of the statute. Even though it didn't always exist, it exists now. So he submitted an application for extending the culvert. And what you're doing tonight is receiving that application. And I would suggest you might want to go and take a look at it, seeing as you can't render a decision tonight on it. So Sean, if you would explain to them, what happened with the owner of the property and the concerns that she had regarding the narrowness of the driveway, even though it initially met town standards.
Thank you. Thank you. Sean Copeland with Copeland Builders, representing Deborah and Alex Kennett, 119 New Road. So as Marla said, we had an existing permit, approved on this. And what she's referring to, we have seen water running, not all the time, but we've certainly seen it, Marla. And it is running right down, if you go to that other plan, that existing drainage swale on the Gray's property, and then running into ours. Now, last year,
That's-
it did dissipate straight into the ground. I can tell you that for sure at the corner. I mean, I witnessed it myself. I mean, you weren't there, I understand, but it did. But this year, maybe it's different. So understood. So what I'd like to do is, my owners would like to have a little bit wider driveway. They're a little bit older. We have it approved. It certainly is fine. But New Road is a little bit narrow at that point, and pulling in, they're a little bit uncomfortable. So they wanted to make that driveway wider, where we had, really sloped that to not further impact our upland review area. And they asked to make it a little bit wider. I can't tell you that a fire truck would be able to turn on to that driveway right now. And fully honestly, without, trying to drive off of the other side of the road. I'm not a fireman, but I can tell you, we certainly struggled with some deliveries getting into the property. So, it's definitely a safety concern on their part as well. But I mean, the honest truth is it's an elderly couple that would like to, well, they're not too old, but regardless, like to be a little bit more comfortable pulling into their driveway. And essentially all I'd like to do is extend the pipe by 10 feet and slope it exactly as it is currently and was previously approved with it, and give them a little bit wider driveway.
Thank you for
So
that
just for the-
comment, Mr. Copeland.
Just for the commission's information, the acting public works director, Eric, was going to be going out to look at this area of New Road because there's been a number of requests for driveway permits. All these homes that are being developed across the street. And at that time, I asked him to take a look at the cross culvert under New Road because I was concerned about potential clogging of that. And he looked at the photographs that I gave him, and he was concerned about there's an electrical vault there right on the street, but between the two driveways, the driveway to lot 7 and the driveway that's here for the Kennets. And that makes it difficult to do work around the inlet of the cross culvert, but I haven't gotten a response back from him as to what his opinion is of that. In addition to that, the town is going to have to, in order for this to move forward, the pipe itself is actually on the town's property. So the town is going to have to give an approval for the work on their property. But I think the first step is to get clearance through the Wetlands Commission if they want to allow that to occur on the town's property. So at this juncture, I'm kind of waiting for a response back from the Public Works Director, as well as I think it's worthwhile for the commission to take a look at this situation, because this is one where there was a mining operation where water's flows did not were not anticipated. Changes in getting rid of the overburden, mining out the sand and gravel, changed the way the water flowed from the Star Road site through the old mining operation, and now it has popped out of the ground. I've spoken to the person who owns that rear lot. He's got some horses, and there's some concerns that I have about drainage off the horses, and I'll talk about that later. That I don't know how long it's going to flow. It's probably going to dry up as the summer comes and the water table drops. But right now it was flowing at a fairly good clip, coming out of the ground at least 2 locations where there were under drains. So for down here, I don't see any real changes in the hydraulics per se. Because the original culvert was put in based upon what the contributing drainage area was. And it is still quite sand. There's still quite a layer of sand and gravel to the rear of these properties. So this water course may in fact disappear during normal times and only be appearing in the spring, kind of like a vernal stream, so to speak. So it might be of value for the commission to look at it in their site walk, and I would recommend that that be included.
Okay, thank you, Marla. Any other commissioner questions or comments on this situation?
Make a quick comment. I'm trying
Yes, Commissioner Roberts.
when Marla and I were out there the other day, we did notice, yes, there's water coming from someplace that it hadn't been before. This particular site, I'm looking at the drawing and I'm seeing ripraps proposed for the area between New Road and the ditch. And I was wondering if, well, when we go look at it, I'm hoping that somebody can answer, because that area looks like it could hold an awful lot of water, and I don't know if it should be looked at as a potential retention site for that whole hillside. Just thought I'd toss that out.
Okay.
Charlie,
thank
are you referring to what's north of the driveway culvert?
Yeah, where that red extension is shown, and then to the left of that red extension, it shows some riprap. It doesn't show it to the other side, or, yeah, there it shows it.
There.
And I'm not an engineer, I'm not a hydrologist, but I kind of looked at that area and thought, boy, that looks like a perfect retention pond all by itself. But should probably have the riprap in there to slow down erosion.
So do you want that on the site walk?
I would suggest it. Yeah, we're going to be right up in the neighborhood anyway.
Okay, great.
Sean, could you notify the Kennets? The Kennets, so that they are aware that we will be coming out on what day is it? Saturday, June. It'll be Saturday, June 11th.
Any idea
It'll be in
roughly
the
what time? Mark?
morning. Probably around 10 o'clock would be my
Okay.
guess, because they normally start at 9 o'clock in the morning, and then they'll probably go to Simon first and then here second,
I'll tell them around 10.
around 10 likely. Yep.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, moving on to the next matter. Thank you, Ms. Copeland. No applications received. The permit extensions and changes. Request to transfer WAA 22004, Zero New Road, Assessors Map 154, Block 5, Lot 14A. New single-family home, septic and well in 100-foot upland review area, issued 3/3/22 to David Held. Request to transfer approval to HC Rose Contractors, Inc. Signed by Henry Rose, President, stamped, received 5/4/22. Is the application?
So I don't have any objection to transferring this this wetlands agent approval. I technically don't have the authority to do it under the current regulations. That might be something that you might want to change in the future. But for now, it has to go through the commission. There's been no action on it. The building permit would be held up until the transfer occurs or until a new application is applied for. And you have the drawing right there. That this is lot was known as lot SC1. The prior Dolan property was SC2. They were both owned by an LLC owned by Mr. Held. And he got a wetlands agent approval for this a couple of months ago. And so now he is in the process of selling it to the HC Rose Contractors, Inc. I have no objection to the transfer, but it needs a vote by the commission.
So
Make a motion that we approve the transfer.
do we have a second?
I'll second it, Diane.
So motion made and seconded to transfer the property. Any discussion?
Yes, just for a point of order, that means that the permit is transferred as it is and the new owner will have to build to that? Or can they
Correct.
modify?
No, they would build it to that.
All right. Further discussion? Right, let's go to a vote. Commissioner Obert,
I vote yes.
Commissioner Chapin,
Aye.
Commissioner Morano,
Aye.
and Chair O'Neill, aye. The transfer is approved, which is for transfer of WAA 22004, Zero No Road, Assessors Map 154, Block 5, Lot 14A, new single-family home, septic and well in 100-foot upland review area, issued on 3/3/22. David Held requests to transfer approval, which is approved to HC Rose Contractors, Inc., signed by Henry Rose, President, stamped, received 5/4/22. All right, that's the next item. If I can scroll fast enough. Violations and enforcement actions. Notice violation VIOL 21023, Jamie Pettit, 0 and 73 Center Street, Assessors Map 16, Block X, lots H and 2, unauthorized construction of retaining wall and associated backfill in or near Little Pond, issued on 8/24/21. Status.
So at last month's meeting, which you would need to repeat at this month, is that there was a motion by Charlie Aubert instructing me to request Jamie Pettit file the as-built drawing on the land records. And that motion was approved by Fran Morano, passed unanimously. However, because there was no quorum, you would need to repeat that motion.
So we have a motion to repeat.
I make a motion that Agent Butts will contact them for an as-built drawing for our files.
Right. Do we have a second?
Not for our files. It's not, may I speak
Oh,
again?
I'm sorry.
It's
You
to
want
be
amend
placed
your
on the
app-
land records. It's
So
not,
it's their
we have a
files,
copy in
okay,
our files.
Okay,
All right, so we have a motion on the floor for applicant to provide document for recording on land records. Do I have a second?
Correct.
Second.
So motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
aye.
All those opposed? Hearing no opposition, the motion carries. Moving on to the next item. Violation pending enforcement notice permit violation VIOL 21036, permit IWA 20022, Mark Bear, 1227 Thompson Road, Assessors Map 116, Block 24, Lot 10. Grades not as authorized and modified plan approved by the Commission on 2/9/21. So is a similar.
No, I have to visit the site. The last time that you discussed it, I was supposed to go out to the site, but I had recently was still recovering from surgery, so I have not yet been out there. So I will have to do that in the next couple of weeks.
Okay, so we'll be deferring this until next meeting.
Correct.
Right. Then moving on to the next item. Notice of violation VIOL 22008, Rodney LeMay, 0 Aquatic Town Farm Road, Assessors Map 160, Block 11, Lot 15. Unauthorized clearing, cutting, and grading in wetlands issued by acting wetlands agent. 3/21/22 status.
I have been receiving some recent contacts from people since last month's meeting stating that there's still ongoing work, so I have to go out and do another look-see at that property and see if I can contact the abutter to gain access to it, to see what's going on the property. Again, it's another one I need to do before next month's meeting.
Okay, so you'll perform that activity and you'll report back, I guess, at next meeting.
Correct.
Thank you. Moving on to the next item. Agenda item, election of officers. Because of the technical issue we encountered, the election, I guess, needs to be repeated. So do we have any motions to,
Make a
do
motion that we carry over the existing officers for another year.
you have a second?
Commissioner Chapin, I'll second it.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, we should go to a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing no opposition, the motion's carried. The suite of officers will be carried forward as the prior year. Thank you. On to the next item, status of proposed revisions to subdivision regulations. I guess this is a similar item, right? We had,
So there was no requirement for a vote at the last. We had a discussion about net buildable area. Right now, what I'm doing is going through, since the subdivision regulations are a moving target, modifications are being made all the time. I started with looking at the most current copy of the edited version and started with my comments on that. And there was last week another vintage came out. Of course, what's happening is the subcommittee, with it, AKA the Planning and Zoning Commission, is going through article by article, section by section. So as each time they meet, they will go over a distinct portion of the regulations. And then the next meeting will go on to the next section. And Tira provides a copy of the revision in total. So pieces of that document will have already been modified, and then other pieces are not. And then sometimes they end up having to go back and look at sections pieces that they've already edited. So when I put out my comments, they're in their second round now, going through the regs totally. So I'm hoping that as they get close to the end of their second round, I will have a comprehensive set of comments based upon the edits that they've done through the second round and anything else that I find. So I'm hoping to get those done in the next couple of weeks so that I can get that to Tara. And included in that would be all my comments about net buildable area.
Okay.
So that's the status of it right now. It's still, and I will share all those comments with you when I submit them to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
all right, that's an ongoing process. Thank you.
Correct.
All right, next point here is bylaw revisions. And I think we've addressed that in the prior meeting. However, given the technical issues, I think we just simply need to, if there are additional changes, of course, but either incorporate or accept the change, which I recall was simply a additional citizens comment section. Go ahead.
Yes, please go to page 60 for the red line version.
Ah, there we go. Here we are.
I wasn't sure whether I had the location of the citizens' comments correct, if that was where you wanted them. So that's why I thought I would give you a red line version so you could decide.
Commissioners?
I believe that's where we had discussed putting it, that if there are visitors, they're going to have an opportunity to hear the discussion about new applications and ongoing.
Yeah, I think it was at the end. I remember at the end, but I guess we didn't get may not have been too precise, but it appears to be in the appropriate spot. But I defer to Fran or Diane to.
It's Diane. I mean, to me, it seems like a logical spot because you've kind of gone through the bulk of the active, permits and violations.
Yep. Okay.
Kind of business stuff after that. So I'm not opposed one way or another. It looks fine where it is.
Okay.
As long as they don't prohibit us from signing off, that's,
A long night, yeah. Fran, any comments?
Looks fine.
Yep.
I don't have.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Is that?
Yeah, it's all set.
All right, so do we have a motion to accept the bylaws revisions?
I'll make that motion that we accept the inclusion of an additional point for citizens' comments to be after other business.
I'll
I have a
second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? By voice vote, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing no opposition, the change in order to include a citizen's comments after other business as item I on the order of business for the bylaws of the commission has been accepted. We'll have to report that to the town.
I will send a notification to the town clerk with the updated
clerk.
bylaws, and I will email you all a copy and
Right.
post the revised ones on the website.
All right, thank you. Okay, reports, budget and expenditures.
Okay, the budget for July 1st through April 28th, Commissioner Chapin, the available budget is $5,077.95, which has us expending 80.7% of our budget year to date. And it appears that we had no month-to-date expenditures.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Treasurer? Okay, hearing none. Moving on, wetlands agent report. Or do we have to accept, do we have to have a motion to accept that report? No?
No.
Okay. All right, moving on to wetlands agent report. Marla, you have the floor.
All right, so under updates, there's been no progress made on the MS4 2019-2021 annual report or the records disposal activities or the drafting of the Inland Wetlands Commission amended regulations. In the absence of a public works director, I'm working with Kelly Jennis to keep current MS4 contracts, to keep current the MS4 contracts. Due to my focus on the draft subdivision regulations, no progress on the draft MS4 contract with Eastern Connecticut Conservation District for dry weather screening has been made. Under inspections and follow-up actions, I've already talked a little bit about it on April 21st for a new road, 117, 119, and 0 New Road. I conducted an inspection of these properties with Commissioner O'Bear in response to some questions regarding the development of a water course starting near the home at 117 New Road, draining through 0 New Road and into 117 New Road. And based on the flow of water and the existence of filamentous green algae contained in a channel with evidence of sediment and scour deposits, I have determined that an intermittent water course has been created or developed subsequent to the gravel mining operation by River Junction Estates LLC and Strategic Commercial Realty LLC. This condition was not identified until this inspection. I have spoken with the owner of 117 and requested he contact the Eastern Connecticut Conservation District to get advice on handling runoff from a horse paddock that drains into this intermittent water course that originates on this property. This inspection and resulted in the submission of permit application IWA 22011, the one that you're going to do a site walk on. That was the one with a little red diagram. Complaint 2202 Plum Road. Following a complaint that tree cutting was occurring in wetlands on April 27th, 22, Dan Malo and I inspected a tree cutting operation located south of Plum Road and east of the historic unmaintained Marcy Lane. We found tree cutting in wetlands and spoke to the new owner, Richard LaFlèche, who informed us that he was not planning to do any cutting in wetlands, but that in the future he would submit a timber harvest request for tree cutting in the wetlands that he was planning on doing in the wintertime. A letter has been sent to the complainant regarding the results of the inspection, and the inspection file has been closed. And then another complaint, new complaint came in 2203. This is at 480 Quaddock Town Farm Road. If you recall correctly, this is the property of Robert Lemieux and Jennifer Burlingame, right next to Rick DeRocher's property.
Right.
And in a complaint, an inspection is planned with the zoning enforcement officer to investigate a complaint by the occupant of 480 Quaddock Town Farm Road that the owner of 484 Quaddock Town Farm Road had cut trees in wetlands and felled or pushed them onto 480 Quedictown Farm Road. So stay tuned on that. Still need to do an inspection on that. Then complaint 2204, which is 1036 and 0 Thompson Road. This is the property of Carlos Fiera. You recall back in December, we had a complaint. Following several complaints of tree cutting, an inspection was conducted on April 27th, 2022 with Dan Malo in the presence of Rodrigo Fiera, son of the property owner Carlos Fiera. These properties were the subject of a prior complaint, 2115, regarding tree cutting. A letter was sent in December of 21 with advice to have a soil scientist provide information on the location of wetlands and the potential uses of these properties for pasture, pond development, and other passive uses. The recent work revealed tree cutting in the upland review area. By the way, he did have a soil scientist come out, Margaret Washburn, and she did flag for him some of the wetlands identified where they were near his home, but not over the entire property. The recent work revealed that the tree cutting was in the upland review area. It did not constitute a clear cut, nor had any grubbing or other earth moving work been done, although Mr. Ferreira was contemplating the same. A letter has been sent to Carlos Fiera via certified mail. It has yet, by the way, to be received by him, stating that tree cutting could continue provided the uplands were not clear cut, and to refrain from any stump removal or other grading or construction work until he submits an application for a declaratory ruling regarding this work. This complaint file remains open. I have reviewed 12 building permits during this last month, and I did show one purchase order, a legal notice for $44.10 for the legal notice on Max Candidas's site. They're under miscellaneous. I want to make sure you know that a description and the link to the proposed new FEMA flood hazard mapping has been added to the Inland Wetlands Commission's web pages under resources and advice. And I would suggest that you take a look at gander at some of the proposed maps, and there's a description on the web page explaining how a little bit about how the process is done. And unless you have an engineer, you'll need to you won't be able to get to file an appeal. One thing also is that if you go to page 62 of the Zoom documents, there has been an announcement made that there will be a household hazardous waste collection day on June 25th. It's beginning at 9 o'clock to 1 p.m. at the Thompson Highway Department at Buckley Hill Road. It hasn't yet shown up on the town's website, but I wanted you to be aware that this is something that would be of benefit to the wetlands, because we know that when people can't get rid of stuff, they sometimes dump them down the drains, which end up in water courses and wetlands, or dump them in their backyard, which can contaminate their wells. So this is a good thing to promote, to do. Then that's it. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Marla?
I have a question. I didn't hear you say anything about the dam that's on the French River just above the village of North Grovnerdale, but there was something being done on remediating that. Did we have an update?
I did get the notes from the DEEP regarding the results of the team meeting. There was a virtual meeting that was held on it. And what I can do is I can forward a copy of those results to the commission so that you're kept aware of where DEP stands on that. That's the most information that I have at this point in time on North Grosvenordale Pond Dam. So I'll forward that to you and you can look at that.
Okay. I did question, Marla, you looked at the, did they revise the flood insurance rate maps or just criteria for there? I guess I have to go and look at it, but do you recall how traumatic it is?
It's my understanding that the town is actually filing an appeal regarding the mapping that occurs on the French River near Route 12 and the mill. There is a significant difference in the mapping. The website actually has both the existing mapping and the new mapping. And under the existing mapping, the floodway ended at North Grosvenordale Pond Dam. It never went farther north on the French River. But this new mapping actually has it has the FEMA floodway, which has been expanded substantially along the French River. And then that's being questioned now. It's my understanding that
Where would
the
it be?
developer for
On the map, on your, on the Thompson, in the wetlands section, you have it posted here?
I have the description posted. If you can go to thompsonct.org, go
I
to
got
the
it, yeah.
Inland Wetlands, go to the
In
Inland
here.
Wetlands Commission,
Yeah.
go to resources and advice, and then scroll down to where you see proposed FEMA mapping. There's a
Stormwater.
link there.
Oh, there it is. Proposed FEMA map revision. You want, within the body of that text?
Is a link. You should see it. You should be able to see it.
Yeah, well, I've got FEMA map products. You have to sort of punch it in, I guess. You have to put the
You
latitude
have
and
to follow the
longitude.
instructions
Yeah, okay.
because they did it for the entire Thames River, so,
All right, thank
or the
you.
Quinnebog.
All right, so it's under the
Okay.
part of their map products. You just have to put it in. All right, thank you.
Correct.
I'll take a look. Thank you. All right. I guess that answers the question on FEMA. Any other questions for Marla? All right, on to the next item. No correspondence, no signing of Mylars. Do we have an outstanding item that needed to be signed? I
You
guess
have
I'll
a couple actually.
All right, I'll have to stop over maybe sometime very soon this week.
Well, I won't be
Or-
back in the
well,
office probably until Monday, so
next
I'll be
week, I
generating
guess.
the permit. Yeah, I'll be generating the permit for Strategic Commercial Realty for you to sign along with the transfer. And then along with, there was a
Legacy of
a
some sort, I
declaratory
recall.
ruling that did, yes, a declaratory ruler for Cheryl Popiak.
Yep.
Which I missed that the commission approved it to be authorized, but I somehow had it in my mind that I was still waiting for something from NDDH. But I looked at the minutes, I think in February, and it said that you'd actually had a motion to approve it. So that also needs to be signed.
Okay. All right, then, comments by commissioners. Commissioner Obert?
For the record, Marla mentioned two properties that had complaints about them that she indicated that she didn't have the time to get to it. But for the record, it's because we went out to New Road and it really got complicated. We spent a lot more time looking at how they all connected into each other. And we must have been there two and a half hours or so.
Wow. Okay. Commissioner Morano,
All set.
Commissioner Chapin?
All set, thank you.
No, I just want to thank Marla for all the diligent work on all these matters, and that these things are ongoing and protracted, and there's a lot of work here, and it's it's now almost 9:15, so I guess it's time to adjourn. I want to thank Amy as to be our moderator because she's tireless in that, and of course Dan and his ability to track our record our minutes. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn.
And second?
I'll second it. Chapin.
Made motion. I hear no objection. The meeting is adjourned now at 9:13 p.m. on May 10th, 2022.
Thanks, George.
You got